cycle. And the only way to remedy this problem is association with a bona fide spiritual master. There are lots of people that are expert in this world. Oh, yes. There are expert doctors, there are expert scientists, there are expert musicians, there are expert people in every field of life. Very expert. But what is the value of that expertise when you don't know the solution to the purpose of human life? Well, you come for some time and then you go. And your karma will go with you, because that's all you take with you when you leave this world, is your karma. And that karma will also determine the birth that you take in the next life. There are 8,400,000 different species of life. That's a serious matter. To be stuck in this cycle of birth and death in any kind of species of life, depending on your karma. So association with a pure devotee, and there are so many expert people, but the most important person to find in your life is an expert spiritual master, a bona fide spiritual master, and follow his instructions and his directions without any compromise. That's the most important thing. And we should count our blessings. A lot of people think, oh, well, this is just another group. It's not. We're a special group of devotees who are focused on this mission, Kṛṣṇa Gatha, to preserve and protect the legacy of Srila Prabhupada in his books, in his lectures, in multiple instructions, which are plentiful. Why is there so much confusion? Because of ego. Egoism is all pervasive in the Kali Yuga. And not only in the material society, but very much so in these spiritual groups that are here to try to claim that they have the truth. Oh, yes, they do. But this is Maya's trick, everyone, to confuse the conditioned soul and keep those that are insincere away from the association of the bona fide spiritual master and his bona fide disciples, those people that present Prabhupada as the Acharya from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada. And Nilesh, you know this, they have all these Gaudiya Math people. I just recently had one of my godbrothers die in Quebec. I think 4 or 5 days ago, I mentioned it in the last class. They had trouble finding his body. Nobody could reach him. He was isolated in his own situation in a small village in Quebec. I suppose somehow or other they've arranged it up. No one has any news of this. But I was about to call him recently again and tell him, why is it that you promote all of these different groups, the ISKCON group, the Gaudiya Math group, all these different yoga groups, without any discrimination or discretion? Why do you do that? What's your purpose? Because this is like spreading poison. Oh, well, they're good, they're this and that. No. And when you learn the history of our mission, you learn the history about our guru, Srila Prabhupada, and when you learn about how to follow in his footsteps, you realize that any deviation, any compromise will create a disturbance in your life. That's what it'll do. And not only will it disturb you, it'll disturb other people if you present it to them. But people don't have discrimination. Oh, it's all Kṛṣṇa. Okay. Well, there may be some pious benefit from it, but the science of Krishna consciousness, the exact science, comes from the messages that we're receiving by the transparent, note this point, the transparent via media of Krishna and of Bhaktisiddhanta, and that is Srila Prabhupada, the one who is representing this disciplic succession coming from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And when you read these, our books that Prabhupada has presented, when you study them very critically, Prabhupada said, study these books very critically, then the realization of this transcendental mystery of the purpose of a life becomes revealed. And when you chant Hare Krishna, I'll finish up, Prabhupada said, if you simply chant the holy name of Krishna every day, then Krishna will reveal everything to you from within the heart. It's by revelation and strict adherence to the mission of Srila Prabhupada and his service. So we'll move forward with the readings now from the diary of Srila Prabhupada. And this is a wonderful opportunity for all of us. These diaries, the beginnings, and we have the Jaladuta diary as well, the first edition, and we've been studying them. And I know many of you are successful, you're very proficient in what you do, you've got a lot of experience in life. And so for us to be able to read Prabhupada's diaries and look into the private work of a bona fide spiritual master is a great blessing for us, because out of it we can extract an understanding of how we should conduct our lives, following Nilesh in the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada and how he conducted himself without any facility, just a strong commitment to the service of his spiritual master. No money, no facilities, no place really to live. He was living in an office here where we're reading. But we'll see, look at the activity he was up to or pursuing. So we'll go to February 11th, 1966. Now, yesterday we read February 10th, a list of 5 letters that he sent to the New York Times, New York Herald Tribune, New York Daily News, etc. Just see on February 11th where he is working towards. The peon has noted down about my change of room. Following letters were posted. Number 1, the Morning Telegram, 525 West 52nd Street, New York City. Number 2, the Times Mirror Company, 280 Park Avenue, New York City. Radio stations, NBC, 30 Rockefeller Plaza, New York City. 2, radio station master WOR, 1440 Broadway, New York City. 3, Radio City Master, YNYC, Municipal Building, New York City. All these famous streets in America. Broadway and 5th Park Avenue. And Prabhupada, no fear, no hesitation. Expenditure, 20 cents. Does that say something, Nilesh? 20 cents for butter. There was no response of the visitors invited to come and join Hari Kirtan this evening at 7:30 p.m. Another impediment, another disappointment. But I alone executed the Kirtan ceremony with my tape recorder till 10 p.m. I alone. So despite the lack of interest that he was experiencing from others, it did not discourage him. Saturday, February 12th, Mrs. Charlotte LeBlanc was to come here in the morning. I waited for her till 10:50 o'clock, but she did not turn up. Nobody cared. Expenditure, bus fare 60 cents. Received the following letters from Rockefeller Foundation, 1 and 2, Mrs. Sally Argawal in Butler, Pennsylvania. Mrs. Charlotte LeBlanc was contacted by phone. She will come on Monday in the evening after 7. So Prabhupada followed up on these people. He didn't give up. He followed up. Sunday, February 13th, Mr. Cohen promised to come at my place by 3 o'clock afternoon, but he did not turn up. Today, the whole day was raining. Talked with Mr. Mukherjee of 9 LaSalle by telephone, also with Mrs. J.K. Banerjee, correspondent of Hindustan Standard. He has given his phone number as follows, and there was no expenditures. Monday, February 14th. Today I tried to contact Koan, there we go, thank you, by phone, but he was not available. I went to see him at his place at about 4:30, but he was not available. Hopeless. I have advised the president of Paragon Book Gallery to receive 25 sets by Sally Argawal. He has noted the message. My expenditures today were vegetables and butter, 95 cents, and bus fare, 30 cents, a total of $1.25. Tuesday, February 15th. Today, Cohen and Stella came. They have some difficulty. Mrs. LeBlanc also attended class from 6 to 7:30 p.m. So you had one person come. Tried to contact Mr. Banerjee, but not successful. No letter received, no expenditure. Proposal for Gita editing made to Mrs. LeBlanc, and she almost agreed. And on Wednesday, February 16th, 1966, today I've sent reminders to Srila Tirtha Maharaj and Sripad Ban Maharaj. Those are his godbrothers from the Gaudiya Math living in India. Saw Mr. Banerjee and Bogart, letter received from Mr. Morrow, and he's not agreeable. So much difficulty. Expenditure, bus fare, 30 cents. Ekadasi surpassed to observe tomorrow, Dwadasi. And here we have a beautiful picture of Prabhupada. Look at that. Sitting in his office, literally, and working diligently at his service to his spiritual master to spread the mission of Lord Chaitanya in New York City with very little support. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and the Sankirtan movement. We'll move forward with the reading and discussion with His Grace Yashodanandana Prabhu back at his transcendental abode in the mountains, and we'll have our co-host, play the chanting of Jaya Radha Madhava. Please chant along with this hearing and chanting process as we perform our sadhana, weekly sadhana here at the Prabhupada Disciples Association. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Side. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Nandana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Nandana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. समाज भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद से अद्वैत गदाधर शिवास आदि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। Shri Shri Radha Kṛṣṇa Go Gopinath Sam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki jai, Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Navadvip Dham ki jai, Swami to Bhaktivind ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai, Jamuna Mai ki jai, Tulasi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Swami to Bhaktivind ki jai. All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled Lord. Thank you very much.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. From Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1:1. Narayanam namaskrityam. Narayanam namaskrityam. Naram cheva narottamam. Naram cheva narottamam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam. Tato Jayam Udirayet. Tato Jayam Udirayet. One should utter the means of conquest, Srimad Bhagavatam and Srimad Bhagavad Gita, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead, Narayana, 2, to the Nara-Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, from Srimad Bhagavatam 1-4. Welcome everyone to this reading and discussion, sometimes called class, on the topic of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. As we do every week, we will be reciting a few Sanskrit verses which were introduced by Srila Prabhupada himself in 1966 in New York when he started his lectures on the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Om Ajnanaatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Sri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam. When will Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who has established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter under his lotus feet? Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagar Jatam Sahagana Raghunathan Anvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam Scha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master and unto the feet of all Vaishnavas. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of Sri Rupa Goswami, along with his elder brother Sanatana Goswami, as well as Raghunath Das and Raghunath Bhatta, Gopala Bhatta, and Srila Jiva Goswami. I offer my respectful obeisances to Lord Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, along with Advaita Acharya, Gadadhar, Srivas, and other associates. I offer my respectful obeisances to Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna, along with their associates, Sri Lalita and Vishaka. E Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpati Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostuti Taptakan. My dear Krishna, you are the friend of the distressed and the source of creation. You are the master of the gopis and the lover of Radharani. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. I offer my respects to Radharani, whose bodily complexion is like molten gold, and who is the queen of Vrindavana. You are the daughter of King Vrishabhanu, and you are very dear to Lord Krishna. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanibhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desire trees, and who are full of compassion for the fallen souls. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Just want to point out, somebody recently asked a question. Why is it that Vishwakarma and you, whenever you do this Bhagavad Gita class, you always recite these same Sanskrit verses in the beginning? Well, the reason is actually very simple. These are not our verses. We did not introduce these verses. These verses were directly and specifically introduced by Srila Prabhupada himself. And it's an occasion for all of us to remind ourselves and to absorb our mind and senses in offering our respects, our obeisances to all these great personalities mentioned in these very sweet Sanskrit verses. Now on with the class. The actual text that we will be reading today is actually all the synonyms, translations, and purports are by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Today we'll be reading from the original 1972 Bhagavad Gita in a non-adulterated, non-edited book from chapter 11, the Universal Form, text number 47. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Maya Prasannena Tavarjunedam Rupam Param Darshitum Atmayogat Tejomayam Vishvam Ananatam Madhyam Yanme Tvadanyena Dadrishta Purvam. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Maya, by me, Prasannena, happily, Tava, unto you, Arjuna, O Arjuna, Idam, this, Rupam, form, Param, transcendental, Darshitam, shown, Atmayogat, by my internal potency, Tejomayam, full of effulgence, Vishwam, the entire universe, Anantam, unlimited, Adyam, original, Yatme, that which is mine, tvat anyena besides you, nadrishta purvam, no one has previously seen. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. The blessed Lord said, my dear Arjuna, happily do I show you this universal form within the material world by my internal potency. No one before you has ever seen this unlimited and glaringly effulgent form. Purport by His Divine Grace. Arjuna wanted to see the universal form of the Supreme Lord, so out of his mercy upon his devotee Arjuna, Lord Kṛṣṇa showed his universal form full of effulgence and opulence. This form was glaring like the sun, and its many faces were rapidly changing. Kṛṣṇa showed this form just to satisfy the desire of his friend Arjuna. This form was manifested by Kṛṣṇa through his internal potency, which is inconceivable by human speculation. No one had seen this universal form of the Lord before Arjuna, but because the form was shown to Arjuna, other devotees in the heavenly planets and in other planets in outer space could also see it. They did not see it before, but because of Arjuna, they were also able to see it. In other words, all the disciplined devotees of the Lord could see the universal form which was shown to Arjuna by the mercy of Kṛṣṇa. Someone commented that this form was shown to Duryodhana also when Kṛṣṇa went to Duryodhana to negotiate for peace. Unfortunately, Duryodhana did not accept the peace offer, but at that time Kṛṣṇa manifested some of his universal form. But those forms are different from this one shown to Arjuna. It is clearly said that no one has ever seen this form before. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhakti Vedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Bhagavad Vandanam Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadate Visheshatah Adadhana Strinam Danter Idam Yachi Punaha Punaha Srimad Rupa Padam Bhoja Dhulishyam Janma Janmani Amsho Bhagavatosmyaham Sadadasu Asmi Sarvata Tat Kripa Pikshako Nityam Tat Prishta Chadakaromi Svam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. The descriptions in the Bhagavad Gita about the universal form are very important, actually. It helps us to understand the various forms of the personality of Godhead. Lord Kṛṣṇa has his own transcendental Dvibhuja, two-handed form in the spiritual world in Goloka Vrindavan. Now, this universal form is not in the spiritual world. It's only manifested here on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. What is important to note about this particular episode of all these different prayers which are being offered by Arjuna to Lord Kṛṣṇa, is the sweetness and the variety of eulogy that Arjuna is giving. Now, this is a very important point because as most devotees and practitioners of Bhakti Yoga know, the entire process is based on some basic fundamental principles. Shravanam Kirtanam. And in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is described Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunoi, that this love of Krishna, love of God, is originally there with every living entity, and there's no need of a practice to develop it. So the question may be, how do you develop it? Well, the next line in the verse says, Shravanadi Shuddhachitte Karayodoi. It is developed by this process of Shravana, hearing. Adi means the other 8 processes of devotional service. Primarily hearing and chanting about Krishna, his form, his activities, his name, his pastimes, his incarnations, his devotees. There are so many different aspects to understanding Krishna, to understanding the great personality of the Supreme Godhead. Now, it's very important. This particular verse was commented upon by Srila Prabhupada in many, many ways. He sees, Prabhupada has given many different lectures where basically he explains in so many ways the actual meaning of this specific verse in so many ways. For example, we see in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in cantos, we see, for example, in the Adi Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 17, text 266. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 17, text 266. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada, thus, the so-called caste brahmanas should not object to offering them respectful obeisances. By offering such obeisances as recommended by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they will diminish their offenses and automatically awaken to their natural position of devotional service. As it is said, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunoi, cited from Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 22:107. Krishna Prema can be awakened in a purified heart. The more we offer obeisances to sannyasis, especially Vaishnava sannyasis, the more we diminish our offenses and purify our hearts. Only in a purified heart can Krishna Prema awaken. This is the process of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's cult, the Krishna consciousness movement. So this is another example of the importance of reading Srila Prabhupada's books from many different angles. This is very, very important. For example, in another place in Chaitanya Charitamrita in Madhya Lila, chapter 19, text 151, Madhya Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 19, text 151, Srila Prabhupada says, following in the footsteps of Narada Muni, this Krishna consciousness movement is rendering service to humanity by giving everyone a chance to come in contact with Krishna. If one is fortunate, he becomes intimately related with this movement. Then, by the grace of Krishna, one's life becomes successful. Everyone has dormant Krishna bhakti, love for Krishna, and in the association of good devotees, that love is revealed, as stated in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 22:107, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema, Sadhya Kabunoi, Sravanadi Shuddhachitte Karaya Udoi. Dormant devotional to Krishna is within everyone. Simply by one's associating with devotees, hearing their good instructions and chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, dormant love for Krishna is awakened. In this way, one acquires the seed of devotional service, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. Now, what is important to note about all of this, thank you very much, Rupesh Prabhu, for showing us. What is important to note about all these explanations from Srila Prabhupada is the richness and variety of angles from which Prabhupada explains this point, because this is one of the most important fundamental verses in Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. I remember at some point last year, Vishwakarma Prabhu quoted this verse, and it was explaining that this is the natural process of developing our relationship with Krishna. It is not an artificial process. There's no need of some mental gymnastics or concocted idea or mental speculation. No. One has to learn to hear. One has to develop a taste for hearing from the proper authority. Now, this is a very important point, because when we hear from the proper authority, there are many gems of truth, gems of fundamental truths that are being given by the Acharya. Just like during Prabhupada's manifested presence, we do know that Prabhupada many times was asked about his books. And then one instruction Prabhupada gave, these books are considered personal instructions. In a morning walk in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, in 1975, one Indian gentleman asked Srila Prabhupada that, Prabhupada, we want to associate with you personally, this whole living thing. Okay. And Prabhupada says, yes, you can read my books, but the devotee kept insisting that we want personal association. Prabhupada, when you read my books, if you want to associate with me, you read my books. Now, there's no magic to this process. There's no special secret that a few people have. No. The real secret is understand the importance of submissive oral reception. Then all the knowledge will gradually come in. One should follow the process, the chanting of Hare Krishna, the following of the regulative principles, and the systematic hearing. Prabhupada recommended that every devotee in the movement should hear and read his books at least 1 to 2 hours a day, in addition to all the programs. Of course, nowadays, with all this modern technology and special computer program and special research websites, there's amazing information. Just like before this class, I was reading from the Vanipedia all these different references from that specific verse of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Now, it's amazing when you consider all the different explanations Prabhupada gives, it all comes back to the same point. All come back to this basic, fundamental, most important point of hearing. Now, somebody may say, well, I got wife and children, I got a job, I got a family, I got to go to work, I got to do this. Okay, that's fine. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, that is also discussed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. In his discussion with Ramananda Roy was presenting so many different paths of self-realization to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu kept saying, go on, move forward. But when he came to this specific verse of the Bhagavatam, Stanistitaha Shrutigatan Tanavan Manobir, Ye Praya Sajito Achiapita Strilokyam, that you remain in whatever situation you may be, but hear the message of the Bhagavatam from a realized soul, from a pure soul, a pure devotee, a liberated soul. Now, this is a very important point, because some people have concocted their own interpretations of who we should be hearing from, all on the basis that the Acharya is not available. He's not physically present. He's not currently present to send him a letter or talk to him. But the information is there. it is available. Just like in the Nectar of Devotion lectures in October of 1972 at the Radha Damodar Temple in Vrindavan, India, Prabhupada made a point that if you read this Nectar of Devotion, you are directly associating with Rupa Goswami. Somebody say, well, wait a minute, Rupa Goswami departed in the middle 1950s in Vrindavan. How do you directly associate with somebody who's departed? Because Prabhupada is not seeing that Rupa Goswami is dead and gone. He's saying that he is always transly present in his transcendental book, The Nectar of Devotion, the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So this is a very essential point. The information given by Srila Prabhupada is always available, is always transcendental, and it always ever fresh. Just like we are seeing during these classes, our good friend Kṛṣṇa Prabhu in San Diego, California, has always exhibited the beautiful covers of the Srimad Bhagavatam. We just see the top of your head, Prabhu. We don't see you completely. But this is very important. The transcendental message of the Bhagavatam, yes, Hare Krishna. The transcendental message of the Bhagavatam is always available to the sincere seeker. Very, very important point. Very important point. Just like in the beginning of this program, there is a very nice devotee, Bhakta Michael Dillon. He made a nice point. Glory to Prabhupada, who brought the torch of knowledge and is continuously killing ignorance. Now, this is a very important point. Continuously killing ignorance through his merciful teaching. Then there's a nice comment from Neil Shyama Prabhu. What benefit can there be if Srila Prabhupada said to avoid from a non-devotee as much as milk touched by a serpent? Now, this is the point. One has to hear from the right source, from the proper source, the unadulterated message. This is very important. I've given the example in a previous class that if you could sweet rice, in Sanskrit it's called paramannam. Paramannam, it is cooked in a certain way, and you have to add some sugar, and some people would add some cardamom and some cinnamon, a little bit of camphor. And it is a very, very sweet food to offer the deities. But what if you make a mistake and put salt instead of sugar? Well, you know what's going to be. It's going to be very different, of different taste. Now, it might look like sweet rice. It may have the appearance of sweet rice, but when you taste it, it's going to have a very different effect. Similarly, those who are non-Vaishnavas are deviated from the line of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivinoda Swami Prabhupada. One should not hear from them. One should be very, very cautious. Just like milk which is touched by the lips of a serpent will have a very different effect. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much. And it was interesting what you read for us, the gems of truth that are in the literatures and teachings of Srila Prabhupada. They're actually dynamic in their ability to penetrate the false ego condition of the living entity. These are subtle layers that cover us in this material world. Mind, intelligence, ego. This ego is very difficult to transcend. But by the grace of the gems of truth from Srila Prabhupada, we're able to get proper insight into this medicine, Nilesh, of liberation, how to get out of the comatose state that we're in through hearing from him, from Srila Prabhupada. And I'm reading forward, as all of you know, into the Bhagavad Gita. I started about a month and a half ago. And I'm running across more gems of truth, Yashodanandana Prabhu, as I continue to read the Bhagavad Gita as it is by Srila Prabhupada. And I wanted to go to this gem of truth, this purport today, to further give us a deep understanding, everyone, of how to get out of this material world by the grace of the spiritual master. How to get out. And it's text 19 of chapter 14 of the Bhagavad Gita, the three modes of material nature. Nanyam gunebhya kartaram yada drastanu pashyati gune bayas chapar param veti madbhavam so digachati. And we'll go right to the translation. When you see that there's nothing beyond these modes of nature in all activities, and that the Supreme Lord is transcendental to all these modes, then you could know my spiritual nature. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. One can understand all the activities of the modes of material nature simply by understanding them properly, by learning from the proper souls. So he's qualifying here. The real spiritual master is Kṛṣṇa, and he is imparting this spiritual knowledge to Arjuna. Similarly, it is from those who are fully in Kṛṣṇa consciousness that one has to learn this science of activities in terms of the modes of nature. Otherwise, one's life will be misdirected. Like these ISKCON gurus. By the instructions of a bona fide spiritual master. A living entity can know of his spiritual position, his material body, his senses, how he is entrapped, and how he is under the spell of the material modes of nature. He is helpless, being in the grips of these modes, but when he sees his real position, then he can attain to the transcendental platform, having the scope for spiritual life. Actually, the living entity is not the performer of different activities. He is forced to act because he's situated in a particular type of body, conducted by particular mode of material nature. Unless one has the help of spiritual authority, he cannot understand in what position he is actually situated. With the association of a bona fide spiritual master, he can see his real position, and by such an understanding, he can become fixed in full Kṛṣṇa consciousness. A man in Kṛṣṇa consciousness is not controlled by the spell of material modes of nature. It has already been stated in the 7th chapter that one who has surrendered to Kṛṣṇa is relieved from the activities of material nature. Therefore, for one who is able to see things as they are, the influence of the material nature gradually ceases. A lot of times people say, well, how come you bring these topics up about bona fide spiritual master? This is not a topic that we're bringing up. This is a topic that Prabhupada is constantly bringing up for all of our benefit. But somehow or other people can't see it. Hey, Nilesh, what is this? They're like people who think naively that people that claim to be in the role of bona fide guru are actually self-realized. And Prabhupada has qualified it here. That the spiritual master is imparting this spiritual knowledge to Arjuna. He is the transparent via media. This is not something you just make up or manufacture. And I wanted to, just before we move to further discussion, I wanted to recall that walk that you brought up in Toronto, Yashodanandana Prabhu, where the devotee was, I remember we had the walk, Nilesh, and I invited everyone to come along, provided they got their own transportation, because we had a limited number of vehicles to bring people on the walk. Like normally when Prabhupada would visit a particular location, they would handpick people that they would allow to come on the walks. Oh, you can come, you can come. The rest of you have to stay back. I never liked that because sometimes I got selected to go on the walk, and more than often, no, I was just not allowed. So I thought, well, here Prabhupada is in Toronto. I, being the president of the temple, and as Prabhupada had given this instruction, that I was representing him. That's how he saw the way the movement was running. That the president was, when he wasn't personally present at the temple president took in the role of representing Srila Prabhupada. So I took the role, because Prabhupada had told me, you just have me do whatever you want. I'll follow what you say. He had told me that in his room up in the temple, in this cathedral that we had purchased. And he was very excited about that, by the way. He said it's the topmost triumph that you've got this building for Kṛṣṇa, topmost. So it was Shoridas that was a fellow from India, and he used to come to the temple. He wasn't living in the temple, but he was coming on a regular basis. He'd come to the morning program occasionally and come to the Sunday feast. Very sincere fellow. I recommended him for initiation to Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada accepted it. Fair enough. So he was asking these questions. Prabhupada, we don't want you to ever leave. And Prabhupada, Jashoda gave the answer, what Prabhupada said, I'm always with you in my books. And I was on the walk. This is just the way it happened. It's not, it's just somewhat embarrassing in a sense, because I'm certainly not what Prabhupada was suggesting, and I know that. I'm a fallen soul. But he stopped after, and then, because he explained, I'm in his books, and then he took his cane and he turned around. There was a large group of devotees. I was walking at the back, just guarding. I wanted to get everybody. I was getting a lot of mercy, I must say that, but I wanted everybody else to really get the mercy, get a chance to be on a morning walk with Srila Prabhupada. Can you imagine? What a magic experience for everyone. Absolutely. And everybody was so inspired. And he took his cane and he pointed his cane at me. Now I thought, what's Prabhupada doing? I was nervous. And he goes, and here is the person Bhagwat. You can also associate with him. Here is the person Bhagwat. And I looked around Yashoda. I thought, okay, that can't be me. There's no way. And I looked around and I was at the back of the crowd, and it was only me. And I thought to myself, oh, this has got to be a mistake. But the fact of the matter is that this was a blessing from Srila Prabhupada for all of us, not just to me, but to all of us, that we all have to represent the spiritual master in an honorable fashion, and in this way carry on and give example to others to preach. And Prabhupada sent me letters like that telling me that it was my responsibility to lead the members of the temple by my personal example. So personal example is very important. And that is our goal, all of us, to be person Bhagavat, be the person Bhagavat, represent this movement and Srila Prabhupada's mission to the best of our ability, and never give up. Don't give up. Sometimes you may have difficulty. Sometimes Maya may affect us. But if we just keep trying to follow the principles, and we're so blessed, Nilesh, to have somehow or other, and Yashoda and I, if they ever ask us the history of how we got to this point in time, it was simply some kind of mercy. That's all. That Prabhupada somehow directed us in this way through many, many obstacles and difficulties to be able to present this readings and discussions, and the constant reminder to everyone that Prabhupada is the bona fide spiritual master. That is the most important thing that we have to do. And like you said, Nilesh, association with these other people will not help you. It's like poison in the process. And these people, unfortunately, in this ISKCON group and in other groups too, are poisoned by the leaders of these groups that are interested in profit, adoration, and distinction, and are not bona fide spiritual masters. They're not. And that's unfortunate. Yashodanandana Prabhu, if you could further discuss.
Well, you're raising some very important points about what is bona fide and what is not bona fide. Because we see that in Prabhupada's lectures, many times in his teachings, he's always giving some warning about not associating with Mayavadis, with Karmis, with different deviant groups that are not dedicated to Krishna, that are not engaged in promoting Lord Krishna. And this is a very, very essential point. Unless somebody understands this very carefully, it's very easy to be misled. For example, in a lecture on Srimad Bhagavatam in Vrindavan, India, on November 29th, 1976, it's a lecture on Srimad Bhagavatam 567, Vrindavan, India, on November 29th, 1976, Srila Prabhupada explains, therefore, Sanatan Goswami, when we read earlier, but they cannot understand Krishna, mudha, avajananti mam mudha. They call it is mythology, everything mythology. First of all, they cannot find out what is God. When God comes, shows his opulences, these rascals say it is mythology. What God will do? He comes before you, he displays his mighty opulences, he expanded himself into 16,000 forms, mythology. So what can I do? What Krishna can do? Advaitam achyutam anadim anantarupam adyam purana purusham navayovanam cha. Brahma Samhita 533. Shastra says he's got anantarupan, but still one. There is no difference. They cannot understand the absolute truth, and they like to comment upon it foolishly. Therefore, Sanatan Goswami says that don't hear anything from the Mayavadi, Avaishnava. Mayavadi means Avaishnava. Sanatan Goswami says that Shravanam nakartavyam putam hari katamritam. Shravanam nakartavyam. Those who are not Vaishnavas, from them, do not hear the transcendental topics. Avaishnava mukudgiranam putam hari kata shravanam nakartavyam. He has warned, don't hear. Who is not a Vaishnava, don't hear from him at least, Gita Bhagavatam or any Shastra, don't hear. Because they do not know what is actually the position. Krishna also says, Naham prakasha sarvasya yogamaya samavrtaha. Bhagavad Gita 7:25. Here it is said, yogamaya vasanaya ata Sri Krishna namadi nabhavid grayamindriye. Madhya Lila 17:136. These blunt senses, they cannot appreciate what is Krishna. Yogamaya samavrta. He's covered. To the non-devotees, he's covered. To the devotees, Sevanmokehi jivayo jivado swayameva. He reveals, yes, I am here like this. So this is very important to understand this point. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Yes, thank you very much for the critical study. Prabhupada, I was listening to a lecture the other day. I've mentioned it before to all of us. He specifically gives us this direction. You have to critically study my literature. And we're very fortunate to have people here on this group that are critically studying the philosophy. And it comes out in the presentation. And Yashodanandana Prabhu, of course, is one of the people that is guiding us, because Prabhupada also saw that in him, just so all of you should know. Because Yashodanandana Prabhu, Swami at the time, was the headmaster at the Gurukula school in Vrindavan, India. And Prabhupada was very happy with the service he was providing, how serious he was. I saw a picture recently of Yashodanandana, mother, sitting in a classroom in Vrindavan. And all the boys were there in the classroom. They were all small little kids. And Yashoda was sitting at the front on just a wooden stool and perfectly propped up in a yoga position, straight back and very serious, and very seriously teaching the kids, taking a service very seriously to teach the kids how to become devotees of Krishna. Because the Gurukula was an important part of Srila Prabhupada's mission. And he saw who Yashoda was and how Prabhu was taking this service so seriously. Remember, he had been a Sankirtan leader in Japan and working with a godbrother of his, can't remember his name, Greg somebody. What was his name? At any rate, he was Guru Kripa, that's right. So he had been doing that, and then he got transferred. He left there and he came to Vrindavan, and he took up this service of teaching the young people. And we are like that. We are all somewhat naive in a sense, in terms of how Prabhupada wanted us to critically study these literatures, critically. And in this way, dive deep into the transcendental understanding of the difference between the material world and the spiritual world. Because it's not easy to get out of Maya. So we do. There, look at this. Look at this, Nilesh. Just see that picture. How glorious that is. That is amazing. There is the living, it really is the living proof of what we're doing and how this group has come together somehow or other through the mercy of Prabhupada and Krishna. And we're able to deliver this information on a weekly basis in this sadhana program of hearing from bona fide spiritual from the bona fide spiritual master and his bona fide disciples. Just see the picture. Headmaster Yashodanandana Swami spends most of his time both in class and out guiding the boys. Here he's helping some 10-year-olds learn Sanskrit so that they can dive deep into the ancient Vedas, the eternal wisdom. So very interesting. And thank you, Rupesh, for putting that up so that we can all see that. I'm going to go to our panel now. And we'll get to everyone, of course. I wanted to ask, we're going to ask Puranjana Prabhu and Nilesh and Dharma Bhavana to speak, but we'll move first with Puranjana Prabhu. I see he's on the class. I hope he didn't drop out. No, he's here. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Puranjana, maybe you could share some realizations this morning at the Bhagavad Gita as it is reading and discussion. Puranjana?
Hi,
Are you
Bob.
there? Yeah, go ahead, please.
Hi, Bob. Well, yeah, it's always an interesting topic. Who is the spiritual master? What are his qualifications? I just found a very strange quote from Gaur Govinda. He was asked, I'm going to see if I can find it here. Question. It is often said that a genuine guru must be a pure devotee. Understanding that, how do we see that today so many persons are accepting the position of guru? Gaur Govinda Maharaj. Two sides are there, the spiritual side and the organizational side. This is an organizational matter. Unless they are allowed to accept disciples, the organization will collapse. There will be no cooperation, only quarreling and dissension. Oh, he wants to be guru. All right, you do this thing anyway, maintain the society. This is an organizational matter. They want to be gurus. They want some position. This is all material and nothing else. They are doing some work for the society. They are the general heads managing the zone. So how else can a worldwide organization be managed? Evening Darshan in Bhubaneswar, 4th of July, 1992. So I think, we just have no idea how these people view the position of guru. And they even say it's material, it's a material thing, it's an organizational thing. It's not a position of spiritual realization. You don't require a spiritual realization. You just require to be a manager, but they're not even good managers. So they're not good gurus. They're not good managers. What good are they? But this has been the problem. So many people, they know that. They know these, they knew Jai Tirtha was not a pure devotee right off the gate. They knew that. He was having all these problems. Yeah, but to manage society for the sake of, keeping the society together, we're going to keep this false situation going, and that's going to keep everything together. But that never works. I mean, if we look at any organization that has a false leader, eventually it disintegrates. There's scandals, there's problems, there's lawsuits, there's murders, there's everything else. It just doesn't work. But this is really overtaken ISKCON, this whole idea that we need, a material mundane manager to take the post of Krishna's successor, which is not a cheap position. Krishna's successor. Well, who is Krishna? First of all, if you say, a mundane person is Krishna's successor, it is the same as saying Krishna is a mundane person. And this is what I said right at the beginning. Well, if Jai Tirtha is taking drugs and having sex, and he's a successor to Krishna, then we're saying Krishna is a debauchee. We can't say that. We have to have, a pure person taking that position. Anyway, it's just another snapshot example of how they deviated and why they deviated and what was their rationalization for all these deviations. It's all organizational, it's all material, it's all mundane. Well, then you're going to have a material mundane result. Haribo.
Yeah, it's a Sahajiya group now, unfortunately, and the boat has left the harbor. It's out sailing in the material ocean of misery and difficulty. So on it goes. Very well spoken. Nilesh Sharma, please. Your hand's been up. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Jai Srila Prabhupada. This point has been berated and over and over we are talking about the same thing, is why should we listen to Srila Prabhupada? Why should we listen to the pure devotee? And as nicely spoken by Paranjana Prabhu, is either you be a part of the organization or you're going to be part of the spiritual knowledge. And at this point, I just like to share something where Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 20, Text 25. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 20, Text 25. I don't know if that can be brought up. Yes, wonderful. We go down to the purport, the second paragraph of the purport. The second paragraph, that's it. So what we need to understand is, we always pray in Guru Puja, is that Divya Gyan Hriday Prakashito. How does this divine knowledge illumine in our hearts? We got to understand the methodology, because if we don't originate the source of this particular knowledge, then we will not get to the end result. So here, Prabhupada says in this purport, a pure devotee always engages in the service of the Lord, taking shelter of his lotus feet, and therefore he has direct connection with the saffron mercy particles that are strewn over the lotus feet of the Lord. Understand this connection. He has direct connection. Although when a pure devotee speaks, the articulation of his voice may resemble the sound of the material sky. When I'm reading Prabhupada's books, or when I'm listening to Srila Prabhupada's lectures, it may sound like ordinary material vibrations. But what is the difference? The voice is spiritually very powerful, because it touches the particles of the saffron dust of the lotus feet of the Lord. As soon as the sleeping living entity hears the powerful voice emanating from the mouth of a pure devotee, he immediately remembers his eternal relationship with the Lord, although up until that moment he had forgotten everything. So who can claim that they are in direct connection with the saffron mercy particles strewn over the lotus feet of the Lord? Who can claim this position? And that is the reason why, whenever you see, and there is a very good analogy, a very nice abhanga from Sant Tukaram, where he equates respect, sanman, as nothing but poison. So if I'm a neophyte devotee, which I am, and I suddenly am given a lot of respect, sanman, this comes to me as poison, but it is coated as if it is what you call nectar. Because who does not enjoy sanman? Who does not enjoy respect in this material world? But this sanman will undermine your quest for spiritual realization. Because if as a neophyte devotee, somebody gives you sanman, somebody gives you some respect, you pass it on to Srila Prabhupada. You don't take it that because you are accepting it. And when you think that they are giving it to you, you get into this snare of Maya. She catches you. And this is exactly what has happened with the predecessing so-called acharyas into inverted commas. So the idea is direct connection. Praptasya kalyana gunarna vashya vande guru shri charanaravindam. One who has received this benediction from the ocean of mercy, who is in direct connection with the saffron mercy particles, can, when he speaks, can strike us straight in our hearts and transform us and connect us to Kṛṣṇa directly. This is very important that we need to understand. And that is the reason why the same point has been berated. Why? Because it's very critical for us to understand these distinctions. Hare Krishna. I would love to know what Yashodanandan Prabhu has to say.
Please, Yashodanandana, if you could further elaborate.
Thank you very much, Nilesh Prabhu. This is very, very essential. What you are describing is the difference between transcendental spiritual life and mundane institutional so-called spiritual life. Because just like what Paranjan Prabhu was reading, the rationalization for having so-called living persons. But the problem with this whole idea that they have Then it grows and grows. Oh, now they need puja. Now they need titles. Now they need this. They need that. That's why what you are reading there in that Hindi description about Samman, everybody in the material world is eager to get some recognition, some distinction, some puja. But in spiritual life, one has to understand this love puja pratishta is poison. This idea of profit, adoration, and distinction, this is not what we're hankering. I mean, we all know in the Shikshastakam how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has described Nadhanam, Najanam, Nasundarim. But now it is Sajanam, Sasundarim, and it is all perverted because of that whole focus is not properly there. How to understand spiritual life from the pure devotee. Why do we hear from the pure devotee? That's exactly what Neil Sharma Prabhu was describing in this purport. Because the pure devotee is in direct contact with Krishna 24 hours a day. And this is the difference between the pure devotee and the Nitya Siddha pure devotee and the neophyte practitioner, whether it is a Kanishta neophyte or a Madhyam neophyte. This is a very important point to understand that many people do not grasp, do not understand. That's why when Neil Sharma Prabhu described that quote from Narottam Das Thakur, Divyagyam Hride Prakashita, that transcendental knowledge is given by the mercy of the pure devotee. This is the mercy of the pure devotee, to give that knowledge of Krishna. Srila Prabhupada was once asked by a senior devotee, what is, of all everything you've taught, what is the most important verse? And he quoted that verse from the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, Yasya Devi Parabhaktir Yata Devi Tata Guru Tasyete Kachita Yartaha Prakashante Mahatmanaha. For those of an unflinching faith in the Supreme Lord and in the bona fide Guru, for them, those great Mahatmas, Prakashante Mahatmanaha, all the import of Vedic knowledge is given to them. Perhaps this is the most important. So this very important point, this is very essential to grasp and understand. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, everyone, for participating. Just before we end up today's reading and discussion with our godbrothers, I noticed I'd missed this Jonas Priya for the last little while. I don't know if his microphone is on, but I realized that Jose Oates is Jonas Priya in Hawaii. Maybe he could, if his microphone is working, he may share a few words with us before we end the program. Jonas Priya Prabhu in Hawaii. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. I guess his mic isn't working, but thank you for attending, Jonas Priya. We appreciate it. And all of you for coming to these programs. And tomorrow we'll be having Srimad Bhagavatam reading and discussion. I had a chat with Rupesh Prabhu, and he'll be handling Yashodanandana Prabhu, the production tomorrow. So no problem. No interference, everything is fine. And we'll look at, continuing to add team members to our efforts here at the Prabhupada Disciples Association, Hare Krishna Society, service, devotional service programs, etc. And thank you, everyone, for being a part of it. Your participation is very valuable because it helps inspire other people to join the gang, this group of devotees that are persistent in following the critical explanations of the Shastras, in serving the bona fide spiritual master on the path back home, back to Godhead. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Let's move forward with the chanting of Hare Krishna, led by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, playing the bongo drum. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Let us offer our respectful obeisances unto all the assembled Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desire trees, and who are full of compassion for the fallen souls. Thanks everybody for participating in this very auspicious program of reading and discussion on the Srimad Bhagavatam. Thanks Vishwakarma Prabhu for hosting the program, and thanks Rupesh Prabhu for arranging to the management of this program. And we all offer our sincere thanks to Venkat Pada Prabhu, who for several years was handling the management of the program. He's moved on to other preaching projects. I want to thank very much Rochisa Mataji in Quebec, Canada, for the wonderful picture on the screen. For all of you who see this, she has a picture of Radharani right behind her. Actually, it's a manifestation of her good devotion to Krishna. It's not a painting, it's manifested from her heart. And thanks everybody for participating in this program. Tomorrow, I'll explain the story how Srila Prabhupada put me in the Gurukul to teach the children. And I'll explain also how in a morning walk in 1974 in Vrindavan, where Prabhupada was talking with Karandar, and he heard the I'll give more details tomorrow. We'll have more Prabhupada nectar tomorrow. Again, thanks everybody for participating in Italy. We have our good friend Vijay Pandit. We welcome everyone to come tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock a.m., 10 o'clock a.m. Pacific, 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 10 o'clock Hamilton and Florida time. Thank Neil Sharma Prabhu for all your comments, and thanks everyone for participating. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and his wonderful teachings. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.